Some women enter a room and, without speaking or trying, they pull attention toward them. It isn't because of their looks or because they've said something clever. It's more subtle than that, an invisible energy that others feel before they even realize it. Something about their presence lingers in the air, touching people in ways words never could. Carl Jung believed that what we fail to recognize in ourselves will inevitably show up in our relationships. This means that attraction, connection, even love itself, is rarely logical. It rises from the unconscious, from the hidden depths of the psyche, where our real energies live. And so often, it's not the obvious gestures or rehearsed words that move us, but the quietest ones, the natural pauses, the way someone holds themselves, the way they simply exist without forcing anything. Think back to the moments you've been drawn to someone and couldn't explain why. Perhaps it was the way they sat in silence, unbothered by the need to impress. Or the way they seemed fully present, as if nothing could shake their calm. These impressions form quickly and last deeply, because they bypass reason and speak directly to something older and more mysterious inside us. Attraction in its truest form doesn't come from performance. It doesn't need a script, a clever line, or dramatic gestures. It comes from a vibration that radiates out naturally. A look, a stillness, a moment of quiet that awakens something in the other person's unconscious. This is why we sometimes find ourselves pulled to someone even when there is no obvious reason. Jung explained that what we project onto others isn't just what we desire, but also what we fear, what we long for, and what we once knew in the deep collective unconscious. Among these invisible forces, there is one especially powerful, the ability to simply be without effort. Silent presence. Imagine a woman who does not need to prove herself, who carries no restlessness in her body, no hunger to be noticed. She does not fill the silence with nervous words or forced laughter. She simply is. And her very stillness says more than any speech, I am here. I am enough. This kind of presence reaches beyond the surface. It awakens ancient memories in the psyche, stirring images of safety, trust, and stability. Even when the conscious mind cannot put it into words, the unconscious recognizes it. People around her feel it. The atmosphere itself shifts. She doesn't announce her existence, yet her existence is impossible to ignore. And this presence cannot be faked. It doesn't come from control, from pretending to be calm, or from techniques learned in a book. It comes from reconciliation with oneself and acceptance of both the light and the shadow within. When a person stands in this kind of wholeness, they radiate a magnetism that is both quiet and undeniable. It is from this place that true attraction begins. Not with loudness. Not with performance. But with the silent, authentic energy that flows from simply being at home within oneself. And when that happens, others feel it deeply, even if they cannot explain why. In a time when life is filled with endless voices, flashing screens, and constant pressure to be seen, there is something unforgettable about the one who is simply still. Without needing to speak, without demanding space, their presence becomes like a calm river running through a crowded city. It refreshes, it steadies, it creates an oasis for those who are tired of noise and longing for something real. This quiet presence asks no one for permission. It doesn't need applause or validation. It simply is, and in its stillness, it whispers louder than any words, I am here. I am enough. Yet presence alone, though powerful, is not the only silent force that draws us in. There are gestures so small, so subtle, that they slip past the conscious mind and go straight into the heart. Jung often reminded us that most of what passes between people never comes through words. It arrives instead through symbols, hidden expressions, and movements that we cannot always explain but that our unconscious immediately understands. A smile, for example, can become one of the most powerful silent languages. But not the smile we wear when we want to please, or the one we put on to be polite. Those are empty masks, quickly forgotten. The smile that lingers is the one that is born naturally, unforced, rising from a place of quiet joy within. It's the kind of smile that doesn't give everything away, but instead hints at something deeper, something alive and mysterious just beneath the surface. Such a smile becomes magnetic. Not because it is trying to attract, but because it reveals an inner fullness that cannot be faked. It doesn't entertain, it doesn't manipulate. It simply glows with authenticity. And the unconscious, always hungry for growth and expansion, is drawn to it like a traveler to a hidden path. This is why a mysterious smile can stir curiosity, awakening a desire to discover the unknown world it hints at. But if a smile can already move the soul, the gaze goes even further. The eyes do not lie. They reveal what words often try to hide. There are glances that pass quickly, like shadows flickering across a wall, and then there are glances that stop time itself. These are the looks that pierce through the masks we wear, the ones that meet us not where we pretend to be, but where we truly are. Jung believed we never see others exactly as they are, we see them through the lens of our own psyche, through projections of what we fear, what we desire, what we have lost. And the gaze becomes the direct channel through which all of this flows. Imagine a woman who looks calmly into another's eyes without rushing, without expectation, without flinching. Her gaze is steady but soft, open yet unafraid. In that moment, she is not asking for anything. She is not playing a part. She is simply present, carrying herself fully into the connection. That look says without words, I see you. I am here. Will you allow yourself to be seen too? Such a gaze unsettles some, awakens longing in others, but it never leaves anyone untouched. The unconscious in those who meet her cannot help but respond. It senses not only what it desires but also what it hides, what it resists, what it fears. And so, to hold a gaze like this is to hold a mirror, reflecting not only beauty but also vulnerability, not only strength but also shadow. It is an invitation to honesty, a daring act of presence. This is the quiet magnetism Jung pointed to again and again. True connection, true attraction, doesn't come from performance or manipulation. It comes from these silent forces, the presence that steadies, the smile that hints at hidden depth, the gaze that meets another's soul without disguise. These are not tricks to be learned but truths to be lived. They are born when someone fully inhabits themselves, reconciled with both their light and their darkness. And when that happens, every silent gesture carries the power to awaken something deep and unforgettable in those who witness it. There is a rare kind of presence that does not need to announce itself. It does not push, it does not demand, it does not decorate itself to be seen. And yet, the moment it enters a room, the atmosphere shifts. This presence carries no mask, no desperate attempt to be approved, no restless hunger for recognition. It simply is. In its stillness, it has a gravity that others can feel, a quiet energy that invites attention without ever asking for it. It begins with the courage to remain in truth. Most people, when faced with a real gaze, feel the urge to look away, as if the nakedness of authenticity is too much to bear. But someone who does not flee from that gaze shows a rare bravery. Her eyes say more than her words ever could. They say, I am here, without defense, without disguise. Do you dare to meet me in this place of truth? That moment of looking and being looked at is not just about eyes meeting, it is about souls recognizing each other, even if only for a second. But it goes deeper. This presence does not hide its vulnerability, nor does it exaggerate it. It does not turn pain into a plea, or wounds into theater. Vulnerability, in its truest form, is not weakness, it is strength. It is the willingness to stand as you are, with nothing to cover you but your own dignity. Jung explained that what we repress does not disappear, it comes back through our relationships, through patterns that repeat themselves again and again. But when vulnerability is shown through self-acceptance, it does not beg to be healed by another. It says instead, I can hold my own humanity. This kind of openness becomes a mirror. When you stand in front of such a mirror, you do not just see the other, you see yourself more clearly. And the connection born from that moment is deeper than any performance or mask could ever create. From this vulnerability arises something even more magnetic, mystery. In a time where everything is broadcasted, explained, and revealed, mystery has become a rare jewel. People think attraction lies in constant sharing, but Jung knew the psyche is stirred most deeply by what is not fully revealed, by the symbol that remains half hidden, whispering instead of shouting. A woman who does not pour out her entire soul at once, who keeps some of her inner world sacred, creates a space where imagination breathes. Her presence awakens the desire to explore, to discover, to go deeper layer by layer. Mystery is not manipulation. It is not a game. It is simply the natural expression of someone who knows her inner world has value, who understands that not everyone is entitled to all of her. This restraint, born not of fear but of self-worth, is what makes her presence linger in the minds of others long after she is gone. Yet even mystery cannot shine without the ground it rests upon, the quiet stability of a soul that no longer shakes in the winds of approval or rejection. This stability is invisible, yet unmistakable. It is the kind of energy that does not fluctuate with praise or criticism, the kind of presence that holds itself steady even when others try to pull it off balance. Jung called this individuation, the process of reconciling all the different parts of oneself, light and shadow, strength and wound, until they no longer fight but move as one. A person who has reached this reconciliation walks with a calm strength. She does not have to prove her worth. It shows in the way she holds herself, in the calmness with which she says no, in the peace she carries even in moments of tension. Her mere existence is a boundary, a quiet declaration that she is whole. Those who encounter her may not understand why they respect her, but they do, because their unconscious feels the coherence of her being. And from this stability rises authenticity, the purest flame of all. In a society where image is everything, authenticity becomes a quiet rebellion. It is not loud. It does not try to prove itself. It is simply lived. Jung taught that each of us carries the tension between the mask we wear for the world and the self that longs to be free beneath it. To live authentically is to stop clinging to the mask. It is to allow the self to step forward, imperfect and unpolished, yet true. Authenticity is not about flawlessness. It is about refusing to betray your essence. And there is nothing more magnetic than a person who dares to be whole in a world that rewards fragments. Presence, vulnerability, mystery, stability, authenticity, these are not techniques. They cannot be faked, they cannot be rehearsed, they cannot be worn like costumes. They emerge naturally when a soul has walked the path of self-acceptance and has stopped running from itself. This is the quiet magnetism Jung hinted at, the kind that reaches beyond words and touches the unconscious of everyone who encounters it. It does not demand love, but love gravitates toward it. It does not chase respect, but respect follows. It does not cry out for recognition, but it is remembered. There is a certain kind of presence that never has to announce itself. It doesn't walk into a room trying to be noticed, and yet eyes turn, the atmosphere shifts, something subtle is felt. It is not created through effort or practiced charm. It is born from a person who has come home to themselves. You can sense it in the way they sit, the way they breathe, in the quiet confidence that doesn't need to prove anything. Jung often spoke about the mask we all wear, the persona we create so that we can belong, be accepted, and move safely through society. It is necessary, but it is not the whole truth. Beneath the mask lives the self, the deeper essence that carries both our light and our shadow. Most people confuse the mask for who they are, trapped in the endless performance of what they think the world wants. But when someone dares to live from that deeper self, without apology, without strategy, something rare is revealed. They radiate authenticity. They don't need to tell anyone they are independent, strong, or special. They don't dramatize their emotions or use them to pull others closer. They simply are, imperfect and real. That calm honesty, that energy of no longer fighting themselves, creates a magnetism no words could ever create. And yet authenticity does not always mean staying. Sometimes it means leaving. There comes a moment when remaining in a place that no longer feeds your soul is a quiet betrayal of yourself. A woman who chooses to walk away without noise, without punishment, and without resentment is not running away. She is honoring herself. This silent withdrawal is one of the most powerful gestures of self-love. It says, "My essence is too sacred to remain where it is not valued." Jung warned that what we leave unconscious begins to run our lives as fate. Staying too long in a place that stifles us is letting our shadow decide for us. But walking away with peace and dignity is a conscious act, an act that opens new doors. Strangely, it is often the one who leaves quietly, without drama, who is remembered the longest. Before that moment of withdrawal comes many smaller gestures, almost invisible, that shape true connection. Think of the gaze. Most of us look away when someone's eyes linger too long on ours. It feels too much, too naked, too vulnerable. But the one who stays, who doesn't rush or demand, offers a silent invitation. Their gaze says, I see you, and I am not afraid to be seen. No words could match the courage of that look. It pierces masks, it awakens something deep inside, it touches a place beyond logic. Or think of the smile. Not the practiced smile of courtesy, not the exaggerated grin designed to be liked, but a smile that rises on its own, carrying a secret no one else can quite grasp. This smile is not given away as a performance. It simply appears as an expression of quiet joy, and it hints at something larger beneath the surface. Jung understood that the human spirit does not crave explanations, it craves symbols. A mysterious smile is such a symbol. It awakens curiosity, wonder, longing. It makes the unconscious lean forward, sensing there is something more to discover. Then there is vulnerability, which is so often misunderstood. True vulnerability is not collapsing in need or crying out to be rescued. And mystery weaves through all of this. Mystery is not a trick or a game. It is not withholding to manipulate. It is the natural expression of someone who values their own soul enough to know that not everyone deserves full access. Some parts are sacred, revealed only in time, to those who prove worthy. Mystery keeps the flame alive, not because it hides, but because it honors the unfolding of depth. It tells the unconscious, there is more here, but you must journey to find it. All of these silent forces rest on one foundation: stability. This is not the loud security that tries to prove itself, but the invisible strength of someone anchored in their own worth. It doesn't waver with praise or collapse under criticism. It shows in small ways, in how they walk into a room without shrinking, in how they say no without anger, in how they remain calm even when the world asks them to bend. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming whole, integrating all parts of the self until one no longer depends on outside approval to feel complete. Such stability can't be faked. It is felt by others on an unconscious level, and it commands respect without demanding it. And from this stability rises authenticity in its purest form. In a world obsessed with image, being authentic has become a quiet rebellion. Authenticity doesn't mean perfection. It means allowing your true self, both the radiant and the raw, to be seen. It means no longer hiding behind the mask, no longer confusing adaptation with essence. The one who lives this way doesn't need to proclaim it. Their being itself becomes enough. When you weave together presence, the gaze, the smile, vulnerability, mystery, stability, authenticity, and the power to walk away, something extraordinary emerges. Attraction is no longer about performance. It is not about what is said or done to win attention. It is about energy, the energy of someone who has stopped chasing love and has begun embodying it. This energy cannot be staged. It cannot be copied. It arises from the quiet decision to be whole. And it is precisely this energy that creates connections that last. Not shallow, not transactional, not fleeting, but bonds that resonate in the unconscious. They stir something wordless, they awaken what was hidden, they leave marks that linger long after the person is gone. So the question is not about how to make others see you. The question is, which of these silent forces already live within you, and which ones are calling you to grow? Because perhaps true connection doesn't begin with attracting the other. Perhaps it begins with remembering yourself, with inhabiting your essence so fully that even in silence, you speak louder than words ever could.